friends. How are you guys doing today? It is Sid of the Sugarcoin Academy and Sweet Fest. I'm so excited to join you guys today. We will actually be talking about pricing help and pricing tips that you can use to be successful in your baking and sweets businesses. So, for those of you who are new to me and who have never met me before, I am Sid. I am actually a financial analyst and an accountant, and I've been helping folks in the baking and sweets world exclusively since 2015. And I'm just really excited about helping you guys in your businesses. I've got some really great tips for you. And I also wanted to reiterate that I am part of the Sugarcoin Academy, which is an online business academy specifically for folks in the baking and sweets industry. In that academy, it's not just myself, the financial person, but there's also Chef Amanda Schomburg, who is also a cake business owner in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And she is more of the baking and culinary expert on that side of our teaching crew. So we have Chef Amanda Schomburg and myself, and we are the best of both worlds, helping out with the financial side as well as helping out with the business side. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I know there's a lot of trainings going on, so I'm just going to jump right in to the tips. And like I said, before I forget, this is actually a part of just kind of like a snippet of a pricing class that we actually have on the Sugarcoins website. So if you need more pricing help, like how to calculate a price, how to actually set an accurate price, definitely go to pricemysweets.com. And we have a code specifically for those of you who are watching the Cake Expo this weekend. It is VCE 20, and you will get $20 off of the pricing class, and I do have that in the description right here. So and also, if I have any Sugarcoin collectors watching right now, please say hey to me, and for those of you who are new, again, say hey. All right, so with all of that said, we're going to jump right into the pricing tips and pricing help for you today. So there's a couple of things that I know, like pricing can be very, very intimidating for folks in the cake world, because I know we're a world of creatives. We're a community of creatives who love to do artistic things. And sometimes math and numbers can be kind of scary for those of us who find our strengths in the creativity and uniqueness of art. Sometimes math just doesn't fit into that well. So I'm just going to give you guys some tips to help you with getting started. So there are a couple things to remember and to consider when it comes to pricing. First, you have to understand your cost. That is the first thing first, because it is the basis for what you're going to do with your pricing. The cost is the foundation. If you don't understand your cost, then you will never know how much more you need to charge in order to make money, which is the whole point of being in business. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't get into business not to make any money. I didn't get into business just for the love of the art of it. I know some folks may have started out having a cake business because of the art, but then eventually kept going wanting to make money. And so in order for you to be able to make the right amount of money, you have to understand your costs. I will go into it a little bit more in detail in a little while of what is your foundation for cost. Okay, so first things first, cost is your foundation. Once you understand your costs, you will never undercharge again. I promise you that. If you know that it takes, let me see. Okay, boom. Let's act like this is our treat that we made. Let's say this is a cake topper. Let's say that it took us $15 in our cost to make this, and somebody asked us to sell it to them for $10. Would we do it? Probably not, because we know that we're going to be losing $5 worth of value by selling this product, this topper, for less than $15. All right. So the whole point is you will never undercharge again if you understand your cost. So if you're one of those people who go into the Facebook groups and you're like, how much would you charge? How much would you charge? A lot of people will come back and say, you know what, this is what I would charge. But at the end of the day, you may not be able to set that same price because you have no idea what their costs are. You have to understand your costs. So I feel like I labored that point a little while. Take home, know your cost. Second thing, Never blindly use other people's pricing. I know that it's very tempting to go into groups, to ask your cake friends, how much would you charge for this? How much would you charge for that? I'm not going to say don't do it, but just take it with a grain of salt. Okay. Use it as more like research on what other people would charge. Use it as research for what maybe goes in your community, what price is appropriate for your community. But never blindly just say, hey, how much would you charge from, for another cake friend of yours, and then use that price just because they said that. That's really not a great idea, because you don't know their cost. You don't know if their spouse works at a grocery store. You don't know if their best friend gets a discount over at such and such, over at Sam's Club or over at another store. You never know what their underlying costs are. You don't know if they just have other cost structures. They may have access to an oven for free that you don't have access to. So at the end of the day, don't take anybody else's price blindly, because you need to know your costs. All right. Also, another thing to keep in mind is that inaccurate pricing can cause failure in your business. So this is another reason why pricing is so super important, because you could actually find yourself out of business by setting your prices inappropriately. It may feel like you're making money because $200 comes in the door because you sold a you had a cake order for $200, but guess what? That $200 cake order isn't really $200 because it cost you some amount of money to make that product that you sold for $200. So the difference between that $200 that you charged and the amount of money that it cost you is actually the amount of money that you make. But a lot of times folks in our community get really confused. They're like, I made $200 off of this cake order. Yeah, you sold it for $200, but you may have only made $100 off of this order. And this is how people can find themselves out of business after a year's worth of doing business, because they've been bringing in money, but they didn't understand the amount of money that was actually going out of the door as well, which is, again, your cost. Okay. So 8 out of 10 entrepreneurs who start businesses fail within the first 18 months, which is a whopping 80% who crash and burn. And I do not want you guys to be that person. I don't want you to have that type of business. I want you guys to be successful. And again, the first thing to that is going to be understanding your costs. And we're going to talk about what exactly goes into your costs in just a little bit. Okay. Also, you are not an island. So no man, no woman is an island. You are not alone. Okay. So definitely, if you struggle with pricing, if you struggle with understanding your costs, then use your resources. There's so much stuff out there. There's so many articles. There's blog posts. Shoot, we have them on our website on sugarcoins.com. We've got several articles and several trainings that help you with pricing, even for free. And then of course we've got our paid class, but there's so many resources out there that can help you with pricing. So don't feel like you have to figure this out on your own, because you're not alone. There's so many resources out there now. You can use Cake Boss Cloud, you can use software, you can use ingredient pricing tools, you can use so many different things, and you can also train yourself, take the appropriate training, and you can do it yourself as well, but you along the way can have guidance. So just know that there are resources out there to help you. So those are a couple things I want you guys to keep in mind as it relates to pricing in your business. All right. So, what are some things that are going to impact your costs? And I think this is one of the questions that Chef Schomburg and I get quite a bit when it comes to pricing and setting a price, and understanding how to calculate your costs. So here are the 4 key buckets. I'm going to call them buckets. All right. Here are 4 key buckets that you can use when it comes to understanding the cost of your product. Number 1 is going to be your ingredients. And your ingredients is anything that is perishable, that you can't reuse. It's going into that person's product, and that's it. All right. These are the ingredients, right? So your eggs, your flour, your butter, your sugar, all those things that go into making the product, making the cake. All right. So that's your ingredients. Then there's supplies. These are also things that now are inedible. So like your cake board, your packaging, your cupcake wrappers, your cake toppers, but they're also like one-time use things. Okay. So if a customer If a customer comes to you and they say, I want this particular type of cake topper, and you have to, custom order it from Etsy, or you use your Cricut machine from Icing Images, and you make them a custom topper, it's something that you cannot use for anybody else unless their name just so happens to be the exact same name, and unless that person gives it back to you, which I doubt that they will. But if it's something that is like a one-time use, I would consider that as a supply. So like I said, your cake boards, your packaging, your cupcake wrappers, your all those things that go into making that product, that finished product, right? The third bucket is called overhead. All right, the thing that goes into overhead, the many things that go into overhead are just basically general business expenses, things that are required to run your business. So your insurance, your license, your rent, if you have a commercial kitchen space, or if your rent, if you work out of your home, but you can do like a certain amount of the rent or mortgage of your home if it is exclusively used for your cake. And I'm getting into a little bit more of a tax side of the conversation, but there are certain aspects of your rent and your mortgage that you can actually use as overhead for your business if it is exclusively used for your business. So this is anything that directly goes into the cost of running a business, your lights, your utilities, your water, all that kind of stuff. So that's overhead. Okay. So then the fourth bucket is labor. And I will tell you guys that this is the most expensive bucket. And this is probably the most overlooked bucket when it comes to pricing and costing out your products. So labor is the most expensive because your time is valuable and you cannot get your time back. Time is the only resource. It's not like water. It's not like, it's not like eggs where we can get more of eggs. Like we literally cannot get more time. We can't. And the only way that we can fabricate more time is if we become more efficient with things, if we get faster, or if we hire an assistant. But even that's not actually making more time. That's just having more help to do things so that it doesn't take you as long. All right. So we've got ingredients, supplies, overhead, and labor. Those are the four buckets that you need to make sure that you include your cost for in order to get a baseline cost for your product so that you know how much more you need to charge for that item. All right. Steps for setting your product price. All right. So this is like the bread and butter of this whole thing. All right. First, you need to itemize your recipe. Okay. Itemize your recipe. The way that you break out your recipe is to break down the cost of your ingredients and supplies used in making your product. All right. So if your recipe calls for 3 eggs, then that means you need to include the price of 3 eggs. If it takes 2 cups of milk, that feels like a lot of milk. If it takes a cup and a half of milk, or if it takes a cup of milk, then go ahead and put in how much it costs for that gallon of milk, but it's only a cup. Think about it. There's a gallon of milk, right, that you paid $2 for at the grocery store, but that cup is only a portion of that $2. If you're not familiar with how to do like certain math like that, then definitely check out the pricing class. But I want to say that my main point to folks who feel like they're not good at math and who feel like this is something that they struggle with, generally for the beginner step, I always say to get a card or like a bank account, a debit card, a credit card, whatever it is that you specifically use for your business. You only use it for business expenses. When you go to the store, when you go to Walmart, when you go wherever, you swipe that card, and the only thing you swipe on that card is for your business. That's actually going to help you understand what your cost is on a really high level. It's not going to be as easy when it comes to breaking down like I had a gallon of milk and now there's 2 cups of milk, but at least that's a starting point for those of you who are brand spanking new to this business and are trying to figure out how do I even just get a little bit of a handle on how much money I'm spending in my business. Use one bank account and that's going to help you tremendously with getting started. Okay, so itemize your recipe. So what I would say is list out the ingredients in your recipe and then go line by line and say how much each of those items cost based off of what it calls for in the recipe. All right. Like I said, if you need help with the math, I've got a 3 hour training, a 3 hour, because there's no way possible that I could cover that in this hour time frame. But we have a 3 hour training that actually breaks down how to do that, as well as how to figure out a price. We give three recommendations, it may be 3 or 4 recommendations on ways to set a price once you get to that cost. Okay, so the math part we'll discuss a little bit later in class. All right, so after you've itemized your recipe, once you know how much your ingredients and supplies are going to cost you, then you need to add in your labor and other overhead expenses to arrive at the overall cost. Okay, so when I say add in your labor, that means how long is it going to take you to fulfill this order? All right, so you've got the baseline with the recipe, but from beginning to end, how long is it going to take you to finish this order? Is it going to take you 2 hours? Is it going to take you 3 hours? Is there going to be delivery involved? What are some other aspects of this order that have a cost associated with it? Okay, so if it's going to take you 2 hours, charge whatever the appropriate amount of time is that you would charge on your other job, or whatever is I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Good. Basically, something that's a good match or appropriate for your skill level. So that could be $10 an hour. It could be $15 an hour. If you've been doing this for 20 years and it takes you like, an hour tops to do, a 1-tier birthday cake or to do a sheet cake or something like that, it takes you 30 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever, then just price it out appropriately. Think about the quicker you are the quicker and more efficient you are at your job, the more expensive your labor time should be. If it takes you forever, like it does for me, to do one cake, then you should charge appropriately. There's no way that I should be charging $20 an hour for my skill set. I'm a brand spanking newbie when it comes to doing certain types of cakes. There's no way that I would charge anything higher than $10 an hour or maybe $9 an hour, depending upon how long it's going to take me, because your customer shouldn't pay for your time inefficiencies. Your customer is paying for your skill set and for a great product that you're providing to them. But if it takes you longer, you shouldn't charge more, if that makes any sense. Okay, so using that overall cost, so your itemized recipe, which is your ingredients, your supplies, your overhead, your labor, all that good stuff, then you should set a price by adding in a profit, which is the amount of money that you want to make over your cost. Okay, so I know a lot of times, and it's something I've heard quite a bit in this cake world, is that people, feel like, oh, well, it only costs me $2 to make a dozen cupcakes because I, get this box mix, because the eggs are not that expensive, and this water and this, all the different things that add up to $2 to make a dozen cupcakes. But that's just the ingredients. That's not the labor. That doesn't include the energy that comes out of your oven. That doesn't include what it costs to run your mixer. That doesn't include the time it takes to wash the dishes. It doesn't take into account the time that it takes to package them up and for them to cool and for them to do this, for them to do that. So at the end of the day, realize it is more than just your ingredients cost. So once you figure out all of those items, your ingredients, your labor, your overhead, your supplies, then at the end, you're going to add in how much more money you want to make, which is your profit, and that's how much you're going to charge. So my baseline reference is that you make sure that you charge your customer. I've had so many times where people are like, should I charge for delivery? Should I charge for should I charge for, I don't know, shipping? Should I charge for this? Should I charge for that? And my baseline is, if it cost you, it cost your customer. All right. If it cost you, it should cost your customer, and you should put that, you should roll that forward. So for people who are like, well, I do free delivery. All right. Free delivery is awesome, but I sure hope that you're putting it into the actual cost of your product, because guess what? Gas is not free. The maintenance on your car is not free. The wear and tear of driving all over the city is not free for you. It actually costs you. So it's one thing to do something promotional, and by saying that that you it's free, but it's actually built into the cost. that's something on a completely different level. Your customer thinks it's free, but it's not exactly free. So it's the same thing with any other big name, with Amazon, with whoever. Best believe that that cost is actually put into the price. All right. So let's see. And I feel like I'm moving right along. All right. And let me see if there are any questions as well. Hello, hello. Denise, you bring up a really good point. She says, know your worth and pricing by research and cost. That is a really good point, too. So, to go with that point, we've definitely heard time and time again where people have said, well, I can't charge that in my neighborhood. Nobody's going to pay that in my neighborhood. And Chef Schomburg reminded me of something that Jay Qualls has said time and time again at our conference. He has said, there is a country club at pretty much every community all over the world. So best be believing that there's somebody in your community who can pay the price that you should, that you're worth, basically. The price that you're scared to put out there as your price, somebody in your community can pay it. Now, mind you, you want to make sure that your skill set and your work product, the finished product, actually looks like what you're putting out there. Okay, so if you say that you charge $12 a slice, your cake better look like it's worth $12 a slice. It better look like it's platinum wedding, like over the top stuff. All right, so yes, there's country clubs everywhere, but also be mindful of what your actual skill set is too, and does your work product match what you're charging at the same time as well. All right, let's see. I'm gonna look through the other questions as well. Let's see. I'm so happy to see so many friendly faces on here. So many Sugar Queen Academy folks. Hello, hello. This amazing information. Thank you, Sid. Yes, you're very, very welcome. Thanks, guys. Wow, this information is great. Awesome. Oh my goodness, DBs. She said, charging family and friends. Yes, let's talk about that. Let's talk about pricing when it comes to family and friends. My thing is, there are folks who are going to support you no matter what. And sometimes you're going to get the most support from folks who are not your family and friends. It's one thing that I've seen time and time again. Everybody's not going to be on your same bandwagon and wanted to see you be successful and wanted to see you succeed. And that really stinks sometimes. But at the end of the day, just be encouraged that there are people out there who want to see you succeed. And also don't feel like there's a need for you to give the friends and family discount. If they're going to support you, they're going to support you. Now, also, if you're doing, the cake is a gift or whatever, the cake is the gift for the shower, the cake is the gift for the wedding or whatever, that's up to you. But at the same time, realize that, again, it's costing you not only in ingredients, not only in supplies, but it's costing you in your time. Your time you're not going to be able to get back. So do you, boo-boo, do whatever feels right. But at the same time, there's going to be a point in which you're going to have to stand on your policies, which is something else that I also am going to bring up here in just a minute. How much should you charge for last minute orders? Vanessa, that's a really great question. So when it comes to last minute orders, honestly, it's going to be up to you as to whether you even want to deal with that or not. Because in my opinion, a last minute order is going to depend on how stressful it is for you. If it's something that you already have available in your freezer, then, you could charge something nominal because it's not going to be as big of a hassle for you. And that really depends on if you're somebody who is a batch baker, which is something that we talk about a lot in the Sugar Coin collectors. Now, if it's something that you already have on hand and it's not going to take you too long to get it popped out, cool. I'm going to charge a little bit. But if it's something that I know is going to be a big tail headache, they're asking for some type of custom topper and all this kind of stuff, I may even just turn it down. It's got to be worth it to me. It's got to be worth it to me completely. I'm sorry, y'all. This is what happens when you're live. My neighbor decided to rev up his truck. But that's a really good point, Vanessa. Honestly, I would have, when it comes to last minute orders, I would keep it completely to a limited menu. I definitely wouldn't be like, I can provide anything for you on a last minute basis. But, it has to, like I said, it has to be worth it financially for you. Or honestly, just don't even do it, because you'll find that people will see you as the last minute person, and then start coming to you for that. And you don't want your weekends being taken over by that type of stuff. So, yes, friends and family, someone will pay for your dessert. Exactly. Don't forget to charge for all the emails, conversations, and designing you do for a client. That equals time. Angel, that is a really, really great point. Like I said, time is something that you cannot get back. So included in that labor, maybe you add in an additional, 30 minutes or so, worth of your time for, correspondence, email correspondence, invoicing, and all that kind of stuff as well. And don't forget that also you can charge different rates for different things when it comes to your labor. Okay. So, if you are more skilled at doing one tiered cakes, and you're not that skilled when it comes to doing like, sugar flowers, or coming to stacking cakes and all that kind of stuff, then you may want to charge a little bit less, because it's going to take you longer to do. And like I said earlier, you don't want to charge a premium to your customer. You don't want to charge more to your customer for something that it takes you a long time to do, because that's technically not their fault. All right. Roxanne says, can you give some examples of pricing for one tier? Do you have minimums? That is a really, really great point. So, something that you want to consider when it comes to one tier cakes, and also when it comes to people saying, well, I could get that cheaper at Walmart, or I could get that at the grocery store, or whatever. We want to realize that we are we offer a luxury product. Okay. We offer a luxury product. Write that down. If you're writing notes, star it, put it on a sticky note somewhere. You are providing a luxury product and a luxury service. Okay. So plenty of times we've heard people say, well, oh my gosh, I can't believe that much for a one tiered cake, for a single layer cake, for an 8-inch cake, or whatever, right? $50, $60, $75, $100, whatever. I know people who charge $100 for an 8-inch cake, but people pay that because of their brand. People pay that because of the name that they built for themselves in their community. There's so many aspects that go into pricing that one tiered cake. Okay. So it's really hard for me to give a set price, but depending upon your skill set, it could be something as low as $50. It could go upwards, again, depending on your cost. It's really hard for me to sit on here and to give you guys a price that you should use, because at the end of the day, it depends on what your costs are and how long it takes you to make that one tier cake. So I don't know if that really answered the question. I'm pretty sure it doesn't answer the question. But it's something that you also want to consider when it comes to pricing your stuff. And also, going back to the whole Walmart and Kroger and grocery store, when people try to bash you, or people, provide responses back to your email or whatever it is back to you on social media, and they're like, oh, I could get that at Kroger or whatever. Realize what makes you different from Kroger, what makes you different from Walmart, what makes you different from whatever, because Walmart is not going to offer certain flavors that you're offering. So if somebody's looking for a, single tier lemonade cake, with such and such type of drips and all this kind of stuff, Walmart's not going to do that. Walmart's got marble, vanilla, and chocolate when it comes to their cakes, right? Walmart has only these type of rounds, only these type of sheet cakes, only these type of flavors. But when it comes to getting something that is custom designed by you, then you have your specific recipes, regardless of whether your recipe is a doctored box or whether your recipe is a scratch recipe, something that's been passed down for generations. Your customer doesn't have to know that. You have your own process, and it is a custom design product for them for their special day. Point blank and period. All right. So you charge appropriately for that. And when they come back to you and they say, well, I could get that much cheaper at Kroger, at whatever, guess what? Do you, boo boo? We welcome you to do that. I can give you the number to Walmart, okay? Because I don't want your business because you are not my type of client. And I know that a lot of times we don't want to hear that because we want orders, especially when it comes to, being on social media. We see our friends saying, "Oh, I'm booked this weekend. I'm booked and busy," and this and that, and then we start to compare ourselves to our friends and seeing what they have said, and that, well, I'm not booked and busy and I want to have clients. But guess what? You don't want to take orders just for the sake of taking orders. You need to take good orders that are good for you, okay? Orders that make you money, orders that don't stress you the heck out and make you wonder why the heck you're even doing this thing, okay? So there's some people that are going to weed themselves out from being your client. If it doesn't work out, say peace to them and move on. All right. So I could get on a whole soapbox about this, and sugar coin collectors know I could get on a whole soapbox about this. But charge appropriately, know your worth, put your foot down. All right. Diane, yes, Diane, good cake isn't cheap and cheap cake isn't good. Exactly. Let's see. Oh yes, that's another thing too. You have a custom service, right, Sherelle? This is something that is custom and is individualized to the customer that I'm pretty sure Walmart ain't doing. Okay. um, and thank you, Bonnie. Yes, we shouldn't sell ourselves short. We are doing something that is unique and that is creative that they can't get anywhere else. And that's something that we need to build confidence around. Okay, so I know that there's a lot of folks who end up having something of like an imposter syndrome when it comes to running a business, because so many of us in the cake world found ourselves in business by accident. And I say that because what usually happens in this cake world is that you just love making cakes, or maybe you decided to make a cake for your kid or for your sister or for your friend's baby shower or whatever, and everybody loved it and everybody hyped you up from that point. And they were like, "Oh, girl, you so good. You should start a business," right? And everybody's like, "Girl, you should start a business. You could really be that cake lady. You make better cakes than such and such," and blah, blah, blah. And they blow our heads up. Next thing you know, we start selling cakes, and then everybody disappears. And then you find yourself up late nights trying to figure out why the heck you even started a business to begin with, right? So, but anyway, because we didn't go to business school, because we weren't professionally trained, because of all these other things that we try to bash ourselves with, then we feel bad and we don't feel as confident. We feel like we have an imposter syndrome. It's like, but I didn't really go to culinary school. I don't know if I should be charging this. And do not do that. If you own a business, if you are making money, if you are sending out invoices, if you are selling cakes, you are a legitimate business owner, and you are well within your rights to charge whatever it is worth, whatever it costs you, whatever you feel like your product is worth. It is well within your rights to do as a business owner. And so I really want people to cut out the foolishness when it comes to not having the confidence within yourself. Even if you got to go to the mirror and you got to talk to yourself, you got to go to the mirror and you got to talk to yourself, and my cakes are worth it. And you're looking at the pictures and you're like, my cakes are worth this. If you don't feel like your cakes are worth that and you feel like you want to take your cakes to the next level, take a cake class, take a decorating class from some of these awesome instructors who are sugar decorating instructors. Like, learn how to make sugar flowers, learn how to ice a cake, take it to the next level. If you don't feel confident enough in your work, but if you know your work is legit, then you definitely need to charge what it's worth. All right. Whew. Y'all can get me started on here. Good Lord. Okay. So, we all want to be nice and take care of customers, but if you start giving discount, the customer will expect this every time. That is so right, Liz. I'm not really a big fan of discounts, but I will tell you that I really like loyalty type benefits. I won't say discount, I'll say loyalty benefits. Because if somebody has spent money with you time, and they come to you for everybody's birthday, they come to you for every anniversary, they come to you for every whatever, to me there's nothing wrong with that. But don't come to somebody, don't start off with a whole discount, Okay. Don't start off with this my first order, but I want to expect a discount. No, you put in the time. We ain't built that rapport yet. All right. We got to build that rapport before we start taking off certain things. And also, again, another reason why you need to understand what your cost is, because if you don't understand your cost, you're not going to know how much of a discount you can afford. All right. So back to homeboy cake topper. All right. If I know that it cost me what I said, $15 to make this, and I charge $25, then I know that I can afford maybe to discount it by $5 and charge $20 because I'm still going to make $5. But if I never knew that this cost me $15, then I'm not going to know how much of a discount that I can afford to charge. But there's so many people out here that just randomly, willy-nilly, I'm going to do a bulk discount. I'm going to do this type of discount, but not even really understanding the baseline cost. And I'm going to tell you that is probably the worst thing that you can do for your business, because you have to understand your cost first. It could be detrimental because next thing you know, you are discounting it beyond what you can afford to discount it. Next thing you know, you're technically paying people to eat your product. Think about that. If this product is $15, cost me $15 to make, and I sell it for $10, then I am paying somebody $5 in value to take it off of my hands. And that's what you do when you undercharge. Okay. So yes, folks kill me with the discount, the friends and family and this and that, and then trying to expect things. Loyalty, maybe. If you want to do a special that's like a one-time thing, that's a whole nother thing. But at the same time, you still have to understand your costs. Like I said, if you need help with the calculation part, go to pricemysweets.com. There actually is a description. There is a discount. There is a discount to the class in the description, but also because we know the cost of the class. Okay, so Angel says, instead of discounts, I surprise loyal clients. Thank you. Oh my gosh, Angel, we're on the same page right here, right here. Instead of discounts, I surprise loyal clients with an extra cupcake or cake pop. An unexpected thank you goes a long way. Exactly. Don't forget about the thank you note. Don't forget about the, additional birthday card or something that's a nice little surprise. As I used to say at my old job, surprise and delight. Something that is, still beneficial but doesn't cost you a ton of money and it's not the same as a discount. All right. Arlene said, this cake business is hard on your body. Take care of you to be able to continue in this business. I know that's right, Arlene. And there's a whole conversation around things that you should do when it comes to benefiting your body. But again, remember we talked about overhead. Those physical therapy bills, those, things, the new shoes and all those other products that help you in the kitchen. That's also part of the overhead if it's something that's specifically used for your cake business. All right. Thank you for that emphasis. Great idea. Yay. All right. Thank you. Great information. Sometimes I forget everything that goes into making a cake. Here we go. Vanessa says, if I added a new item to my menu and I have some orders that week, I give my clients samples. Yes, Vanessa, that's marketing. That is perfect marketing. Yay. Thank you, Carrie. She says, this point is spot on, Sid. Becky said, you should show your certifications and agree with you. We are worth more than that. This is a great demo. Thanks. Vanessa says, I sent out texts, emails, and invoices. I am taking lots of classes being home during COVID, assorted cookies, treats class, and 3-dimension cupcakes, donuts, and other stuff. Brilliant information service. Thank you so much, Sid. Thank you, Angel. Yes, that's the quote of the day. Stop paying people to eat your cake. Yes. The quote, the takeaway of the day. Stop paying people to eat your product, okay? Roxanne says, I know a lot of cake decorators who put more on the cake than the client pays for because they want it to look beautiful. How do you balance business and the artistic impulse? Oh my goodness, Roxanne, that's a really great point. So, Roxanne, sometimes you just got to reel it back in. Sometimes you just have to have some self-control. Honestly, like, and I get it because we are artists, we are perfectionists, and we want to see the product go to a different level. Honestly, because I've definitely heard of people who spend longer on a order than what they should, longer than what they've allotted for. I will tell you this because, again, you can't get back time. Time is the most valuable resource, and because you need to charge for your labor, the longer it takes you to do something, the more expensive that item is. Think about that. If it takes you 3 hours to make this, that means if I'm charging $10 an hour, that means it cost me $30 to make this, as opposed to if I was more efficient and it only took me 2 hours, that already knocks off $10 of the cost, right? So that's another reason why sometimes we just need to get in the lab and we need to practice. We need to make sure that we are efficient. We need to find ways that we can do things quicker, because the quicker you can do something, the more profitable that product is. So honestly, when it comes to finding that balance, I say, when it comes to the art side, do artistic things on your own dime, not on client work, unless you don't mind working for free. And I don't mean you specifically, but unless we as the artists don't mind doing it for free, we cannot be upset at the client when they don't want to pay what it's worth, because we spent more time than what we knew it was supposed to take us. Okay. And again, for those of you who are perfectionists, who feel like you take, hours and hours trying to make sure that everything is straight and this thing is perfect and this thing is redone, I will tell you something that I've taught myself to do. Especially because, like I said, I am a perfectionist and I do folks' websites and I do graphic design work and I do so many different things. Honestly, when I find myself going over something a third time, then I take a step back and I'm like, will anybody else notice this? Or am I the only person that's even going to pay attention to this? And if the answer is nobody else is going to care, then you need to move on. Because I promise you, there are other more important things than you positioning and repositioning and scraping off and putting back on. There's more important things, more productive things that you could be doing with your time. Okay. So maybe that's the answer. So maybe the answer is, ask yourself the question, is anybody else going to notice this? Is this going to be okay? And if depending upon the answer, spend some more time on it or completely just move on. All right. Bonnie says, I have a postcard I send out a week after the delivery. Oh, that's a really good point, because then you can get people's feedback. I really like that. Sherelle says, I like to send handwritten notes with my retail supplies. I love that too. All right. So one final thing that I do want to talk about when it comes to pricing, and thank you so much again, you guys, for joining and for chit-chatting with me and for asking such great questions and for giving so much great input. So one last thing I want you guys to think about when it comes to, talking about how much your labor is worth, or when it comes to dealing with feeling good about yourself and your confidence and having the confidence and to charge the price and all that kind of stuff. There are things that you should also factor in when it does come to your labor. And even though, experience is a great teacher. And if you've been doing this thing for, 20 years, if you've been doing this thing for 10 years and you feel like you're efficient, then great. But realize, if you have accolades, such as you've been on TV, you've been on the news, you've been on Food Network, you've been on Cooking Channel, you've been on Sugar Rush, you've been on Netflix, you've been on this thing, you've been on that, you've won these awards, you've won cake competitions, you've gotten a degree, you've gotten a certificate, you're certified in this. If you've done any of these things and you've got this accolade, you've got this resume full of accolades, that's worth something too. Okay. And one of my best friends, as well as, Chef Schomburg, she's like, there's a lot of people around me who keep reminding me, Sid, you've gone to school, you've gotten these degrees, and these are things that I've, like, honestly, I feel like they're just part of me. They're part of my personality. I hardly ever tell people that I have a master's, just because I don't ever think about it. And I think I know there's probably men on here as well, but I know sometimes as women, we have a hard time tooting our own horns. All right. But as an entrepreneur who has time that is valuable, who is selling a product that is valuable, you have to realize that there is a lot of stuff that you bring to the table. Okay, so if you are certified, if you've got a kitchen that is licensed, if you have insurance, if you've got, like I said, a degree, if you've, taken these types of classes, if you have invested in yourself with this skill set, that is worth something too. And don't devalue that. Okay, charge what you're worth. All right, figure out how to know your costs. Don't pay people to eat your cake and charge what you're worth. All right. You guys are great and awesome. I hope to see some of you guys in the Sugar Coins group. We're having our accountability call on Monday. So for those of you who are in the Sugar Coin Collectors group, we're going to have our coaching group session as we do every month in the Sugar Coins group. If you're not familiar with the Sugar Coin Academy, definitely go to sugarcoins.com. That's sugarcoins.com. Look into our membership, look into all the different classes that we have listed in the academy. Like I said, it's like a business school for people in the cake world. And we've got folks who are literally growing their businesses by leaps and bounds. One of the girls just today posted in the group that this is her second month in a row where she has made $10,000 from her cake business. And you guys, she has a cake studio. So don't let people feel like, there's plenty of times where I've heard people say, well, you need to get a storefront, you need to get this, you need to get that. We have folks in there who have storefronts who are making money, and we have people who have cake studios that are making money, and then we have people who are working out of their home who are making money, and we had people who were making tons of money during COVID-19. All right, so we know how to give you guys the skill set and the information that you need to grow a profitable cake business. We hardly ever talk about like actual decorating tips or recipes or anything, even though we do have a recipe section. We're mostly focused on how to market your business, how to sell your cakes, and how to build a profitable cake business. If the business side is something that you're struggling with, if you're struggling with how to use social media, how to do email marketing, how to do blogging, and how to use online marketing in general, you definitely want to check us out at sugarcoins.com. And also, if you need help with pricing, don't forget, go to pricemysweets.com and you can use code VCE20 in order to take $20 off of the pricing class and learn how to calculate the price. We break down how to get the cost of your vanilla and the cost of your sugar, and we do give the formulas and calculations, and then we do give recommendations on how to set a price once you understand the cost. Okay, you guys are great. I'm going to go back to the comments just for a second. Bonnie says, thank you so much for this wonderful class. Be safe and healthy. Thank you, Bonnie. I appreciate that. And I appreciate all of you guys for joining in and for chit-chatting with me for a little while. Yes, I see Aine, I see Nancy, I see some sugar coin collectors in here. Thank you guys so much for joining today too. Vanessa says, you're welcome. After baking, let the cake cool. Oh, okay, so she's got some tips in there. She's got some tips in there for Jackie. Let's see what else Vanessa said. Thank you for taking time out of your business schedule to give us your tips and more. Jean says, thank you, Sid. Nancy says, thanks, Sid. Yay, awesome. Liz, you're awesome. Your demo was awesome. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's Jenny. Sorry. Jenny McKenzie said, great information. Thank you so much. Thank you guys. I'm so excited to have you hang out with me and talk business. I could talk business for hours and hours, which is also why we have the Sugar Coin Academy. So if you need any more help, definitely check us out at sugarcoins.com. Don't forget to keep tuning in the rest of this weekend for the Cake Expo. It has been awesome so far, and it's so good to see some of you participating and being active. And if you want to follow me as well, go to sweet_fest on Instagram. Also, you can follow the Sugar Coin Academy right here on Facebook, where we post all kinds of great tips, as well as on Instagram as well at Sugar Coin Academy. And also, don't forget to look up my business partner, Chef Amanda Schomburg, and she is Chef Schomburg on Instagram as well. All right, you guys are great. Thank you, Sid. Great information. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Cakely. I love that. Thank you so much, Sid. Yes, you guys are so great. I'll see you guys around. Bye, guys.